Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Point Blank, where we bring you the headlines in gaming and esports, as well as in depth conversations from here and around the world. We aim to bring you information that you can use and gaming news that you can trust. I'm Paolo Barcelon, esports editor and correspondent for Fragster.com, and welcome to our very first edition. It's been a while since I've been sitting in front of a desk bringing you headlines. It's been a while, and for more than half a decade, my mission has been very, very simple. It's to tell you stories that are straightforward, stories that are critically important in making sure that the world and the gaming industries are well represented. But because esports transcends so many titles, so many genders, and so many events happening on a daily basis as we speak, we at Fragster believe that it is very important for our viewers to at least have a weekly dose or a weekly recap of what they need to know about the biggest esports and gaming stories there are in the country and around the world. It is now 8:10 p.m. here in the, or 8:12 p.m. here in Manila, 9:12 p.m. in Tokyo, 8:12 a.m. in New York, and close to noon in London. Now we are monitoring several big stories, not just here in the Philippines, but around the world. We're talking about esports that are happening right now, so to speak. A lot of Valorant tournaments that are ongoing, a lot of Mobile Legends Bang Bang tournaments that are also ongoing. So we are going to be dissecting these headlines once and for all. And of course, we have a couple of exclusives lined up for you for this next 45 minutes or so. We have a conversation with Coach Warbirds from Team Secret. We also have an exclusive interview with a CS2 player who will speak up against what he calls were spoofing allegations during a tournament for Counter-Strike 2 in India. But before that, we have a lot of news to get to, and that is what this podcast is all about. So let's bring you the news. First off, we are going to be tracking events in the Mobile Legends Bang Bang scene as we go to the Philippines, which is the strongest MLBB region so far. Consistent world championships, consistent performance from all of our teams, even if some are claiming that our games are currently boring. But you know what is not boring, ladies and gentlemen, is we are seeing the standings right now. And the world champions, the reigning, defending, and undisputed world champions for Mobile Legends Bang Bang, still in their dominant form. AP Bren, rather, remaining undefeated in MPL Philippines Season 13 with a 6-0 record. It is a 92.31% game win rate and a total of 18 points that they will need in order to qualify for the playoffs. Interestingly, over the past few days, they were able to face off against one of, I would say, the strongest teams in the Philippines in terms of Mobile Legends Bang Bang. They faced off in an epic fashion against M4 world champions Echo, and Echo won or lost their first game in or their first match in MPL Philippines Season 13. It is a very big win for the Bees. The Orcas still proving that they can deliver top tier matches within the MLBB ecosystem here in our country, and it is, or as we like to say, proof is definitely in the pudding. But what is shocking is that closely behind we have Onyx Philippines, who is currently in third place with a 5-1 win-loss record that gives them a 10-2 team win-loss record per game and a total of 15 points to qualify for the playoffs. It has been said that many are shocked by the performance of Echo over the last few weeks. Their super team composed of people like Kelra, of King Kong, and a lot of their veterans have been really performing. I've been told by some of my friends in the press corps that this particular group of MPL players from Onyx, they used to be either Rookies of the Year or candidates for Rookies of the Year, but they are indeed proving their worth in the MLBB scene. And that is something that we will be checking in the next few days. Among the highlights was a win by Onyx Philippines against Blacklist International, making them slide even lower in the playoff contention. Now, speaking of that, in the middle of the pack, we have RSG Philippines with a balanced performance of 3-3. That's 3 wins and 3 losses, maintaining a 50% win rate in both matches and games, and they accumulate 10 points to try and qualify for the playoffs. But struggling to climb up the ladder and surprising many of their fans are Blacklist International and Minana Evos, both having a 2-4 win match record or a win-loss record. Now, despite their efforts, they face challenges of game win rates of 38.46% and 35.71% respectively, each accumulating 7 points. Now, wrapping up the MPL Philippines standings, ladies and gentlemen, we have, of course, TNC Pro Team and Omega Esports, which have been facing tough challenges with 1-5 and a 0-6 match record. TNC Pro Teams secures 3 points so far, and they are still having a lot of difficulty in terms of securing those win-loss rates. So that is the Week 3 recap for MPL Philippines. Let's head over to Indonesia, where a lot of MLBB action has been going on. Millions of peak views accumulated over the last few days. But I think, from what I know and from what I understand, the league is currently in a break. But before they went on a break, Bigatron Alpha towers over the MPL Indonesia competition with a dominant 6-2 match record. Their ferocious gameplay yielding a staggering match percentage of 75% and a game win rate of 68.42%, solidifying their reign with a formidable differential of +7. Now, we're talking, of course, about Bigatron Alpha. They have been performing well over the regular season. Following close by is Onyx Indonesia, the runner-up of last year's M5 World Championships. They have this 4-3 win-loss record, followed by Aura Fire at third place. This is, of course, the team wherein Filipino MLBB star and M4 World Champion Tristan Yawi Cabrera moved to after his long stints in Echo. They are currently at third place in the regular season. They are followed, or Aura Fire is followed by Alter Ego Esports, also with a 4-3 win-loss record. Now, they have had formidable skills to maintain pace with all of the front runners, and as the the competition intensifies, another famous Indonesian team in the standings, of course, fifth place is Geek Fam Indonesia. They find themselves amidst a battle of supremacy, facing off against formidable adversaries, and despite their valiant efforts, they're still striving to overcome their challenges with a negative or a -2 differential. Now, if Mission Control, if we could just pull up those standings from MPL Indonesia just right now, if we can see how big of a difference and how many stories are being formed as of the moment. Followed, of course, Geek Fam is followed, of course, by Dewa United Esports, sitting at 6th place in playoff contention. They have a 43% match rate and a 3-4 win and loss record. Now, it has been a disappointing season 13 for these three teams. Of course, we have RRQ Hoshi, we have Rebellion Esports, and Evo's Glory. So many Filipinos playing for Indonesian teams, and at least we know in Evo's Glory they have a new coach. There's Coach Tio, of course. Super Red from Blacklist International is playing there, but it hasn't been the best of seasons for them, and they are officially out of playoff contention. So we are going to be monitoring how the Indonesia scene is shaping up to be at this point. But as of the moment, there is a lot of buzz, a lot of speculation as to what will happen over in the next 2 weeks as the MPL Indonesia standings are still in play. Now, we talk about standings, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about standings. We move over to another region, which is Malaysia. And MPL Malaysia has also started off their own region's MPL battles. Of course, we start off with King Empire Esports, also undefeated at this moment at week 2 of MPL Malaysia. They are at 4-0 with an 8-2 game win-loss record and 10 points to qualify for the playoffs. Moving next is the Selangor Red Giants with 3-0, also an unblemished win record with 9 points. And moving at third place is Team Hack with a 2-2 win-loss record. Now, moving in at fourth place is RSG Malaysia with 2-1. Monster Vicious going down the standings at 1-3. And at number 6 is the Homeboys, where Coach Dale is currently playing right now. Of course, number 7 is Bounty Esports. Number 8 is Todak, the team being coached by Coach Fly Solo. And number 9th is the Niners. And dead last is Barracuda at the 10th place. So there are 10 teams in MPL Malaysia, and we are still going to be monitoring all these results as the weeks come by, especially in a highly competitive region like Southeast Asia. You can expect nothing less of phenomenal in moments like this. Now we move over to other esports now. Just last week, Game Changers in Southeast Asia had just wrapped up their Stage 1 title, and guess who won? It's none other than the Queens of Seed, as they keep their throne in dominant fashion by defeating Boba 3-0 in the grand finals of the Valorant Game Changers SEA Stage 1 held last April 5. Now, in what the casters dubbed as a new Queens versus old Queens battle, the core of Southeast Asia's representatives, the VCT Game Changers Sao Paulo, defeated a team led by its former captain and IGL by clean sweeping the best-of-5 grand finals match, with Zipto earning a 2-map ban advantage against Boba. Now, Zipto Esports, of course, is composed of the majority of the history-making ex-Team SMG roster of Alexandria Alexi Francisco, Odela Ederi Abraham, Kelly Shirazi Haudian, Camille Camillo Enriquez, and Riona Tara Tan. And as they win in dominant fashion over these 3 rounds. On the first round, they had a 13-1 on Bind. And of course, on Sunset, they were able to pull off what looked like a trick from Paper Rex's playbook. They pulled off a double operator sniper setup with no less than Eneri pulling off that particular Gecko play, being inspired by no less than Ilya something Petrov of Paper Rex. She got backup from Shirazi in that particular game, in game 2, and she complimented her, and she came into her own as a sniper. Now, she told Paper Thin and Zach in the post-match interview that that strategy wherein they looked as if they were adapting the Paper Rex playbook it was done on the fly. Like, whoever wanted to wield the op was given the op, and Eddie said that everyone on the team was comfortable with opping. So whoever wanted to op, they just went for it. And I think it paid off, because in that particular map, they were able to seal the deal and beat the team of Boba, who was led by no less than their former captain, Abigail Kohaibi Kong, and it was composed of Nurul Ayumi Aini, Tiara Aluka Pleno, Neha Casper Sotani, and Pornlapat Baby TZ Witayanan. So I don't know if I hope I didn't botch the names in a bad way, but of course it was a dominant performance and definitely a statement sent by the former SMG roster to anyone who's trying to challenging their way. That, you know what, we're still the Queens of C, we're still the best in the region. But Zipto Esports, Boba, and the 3rd and 4th placing teams, which are Aura Differential and Rima GC, will secure their own Stage 2 berths, which will be held in July. Now, chat, if you are very much invested in what's going on in the Game Changer scene, I wonder who your teams are. I wonder who your biases are. Just give a comment down below on who your biases are and what type of stuff you guys want to wait a minute. Audio bleeding in the background as we see a lot of people watching the broadcast right now. I just want to give some quick shout outs to some friends in the industry. Of course, there's the senior editor of All Star Magazine, Mario Limos, who's watching us on Facebook. There's also Ashley Nobitan, Ashley from a tournament that I held in the north of the Philippines. Of course, a lot of people in our broadcast tonight watching and supporting Point Blank. Thank you very much for all your support. Really means a lot to, really means a lot for me. So yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's head off to more stories as we head into other results from the VCT regions. We are now currently watching the ongoing match between DRX from South Korea and Global Esports, an Indian-based team. DRX has secured the first dub in this particular match. Will they be able to seal a 2-0, or will Global Esports be able to say GE fighting? But the match earlier than that, which was Team Secret versus RRQ, they had another loss. The Adobo Gang was handed another loss by RRQ, a team from Indonesia. And Coach Warbirds just tweeted right before our broadcast that they threw so many rounds during that particular match. We are going to check in on them next week, and let's see if we are going to have any updates regarding that particular match and how Team Secret, or this, because the state of play right now is a lot of these teams, especially Team Secret, it's been a challenging start of stage one so far, but you got to finish the story, man. I was in WrestleMania 40 watch party earlier this morning, Philippine time, and you know what? There can be miracles when you believe, but we will see if the miracles will still be in play. Now let's check up the results from other regions in VCT. Of course, in the group stages in VCT China, Edward Gaming is dominating in Group Alpha with a 1-0 win-loss record, followed by Bilibili Gaming at second. Third is Dragon Ranger Gaming and Nova Esports with a 0-1 win-loss record, and Wolves Esports is at dead last in Group Alpha. Now in Group Omega, we have Trace Esports leading the pack with a 1-0, but they have a higher scoring or higher win rate, higher match win percentages. That's why they're at the first spot. They are followed by Fun Plus Phoenix, also one of the representatives of China to Masters Madrid. You have All Gamers, Titan Esports Club, also with 1-0, and Tyloo and JD Gaming at dead last in the Group Omega standings. Now we move to EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. In Group Alpha, Masters Madrid representative of EMEA, Carmine Corp, is leading the pack 1-0, 26-13, followed by Team Liquid at 1-1 with a 2-2 round win-loss record and a 39-42 round score with a -3 differential. Of course, they're followed by BBL Esports, Fnatic, and Team Vitality. And of course, Foot Esports from Turkey, also one of the representatives to Masters Madrid. Coming in close is Natus Vincere, a Ukrainian team, hoping to follow the shadow of their CS2 brothers who just recently won the PGL Major 2024 Copenhagen, the first ever major for CS2. So will Navi Valorant also do the same? We are also watching that. Of course, Team Heretics is at third, followed by Gentle Mates, Koi, and Giant X. And in the VCT America stage, G2 Esports, NRG, and Sentinels, as well as Cloud9, both or all of them having 1-0 records at the moment. And we are also going to be monitoring what's going on in Group Omega between Furia Esports, MIBR, Leviathan, 100 Thieves Loud, and of course the 2023 World Champion Evil Geniuses. All right, moving forward, we still have more information for you. We still have more headlines for you as we now move on to the Elite League in Dota 2. Now, the third day of Elite League's group stage featured some really exciting matches in which competitors like Team Falcons, OG, and Team Liquid displayed their skills against formidable opponents. For Liquid, this was a day of opportunity to beat Gaming Gladiators one more time after winning against them in the playoffs of Bet Boom Dhaka Dubai, while other teams like Team Spirit and Entity did poorly. Now, as a result, both of them lost their matches and will need to play much better in the coming days if they want to qualify for the playoffs. In the case of Team Spirit, their chances look to be very slim, as in the first 4 matches, they only won a single game. As a result, the record is 1-7, while every other team in their group has at least 3 game victories. Now, in the case of OG and Azure Ray, we are talking about teams who have 3 points after just 3 matches. While Spirit played 4 matches, this means that the real gap might be at least 1 to 2 points wider. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that only the top 4 teams in each group will qualify for the next stage of the Elite League, which makes Team Spirit's mission a little bit more challenging. Now, for Group A of the Elite League, G2IG and Team Falcons lead with a record of 6 wins and 2 losses, both of them winning their games by winning twice and drawing twice. While in Group B, 4 teams have now been beaten so far, which is Aurora, Team Liquid, excuse me, Team Tundra Esports, and Extreme Gaming. All of these teams have lost games, but not best of 2 matches, while only Liquid won 2 matches. For instance, Extreme Gaming also drew 4 times in a row. That is a sign that they are difficult to beat, but it's also a sign that they're not strong enough to win easily against the world's best teams. Now, we are monitoring the Elite League. A lot of events happening in that particular Dota 2 league. A lot of action, a lot of speculation as to what's going on. But we are going to be filtering that out for you in terms of what the events are for the Elite League. So just monitor all our social media platforms. By the way, we are live currently on the Facebook pages of Fragster, of CLX Production, our official co-production partner, and of course my own personal page at Paolo Barcelon, and of course our YouTube channel at Fragster EN. We are live there, so if you want to give, if you have some comments, we could probably read that in the middle of the program. But right now, I think what we need to do is to go for a very, very short break. And when we return after this very quick break, we are going to be playing for you an interview that I did with Coach Warbirds, even Warbirds Olzem of Team Secret, that I recorded very, very recently. Who is Warbirds when he's not playing Valorant? And who is he as a coach? What he learned from the Adobo Gang? We will all know that when Point Blank with Paolo Barcelon returns. And we are back here at Point Blank. I'm Paolo Barcelon. And just as promised during the break, we are going to be having a one-on-one interview with one of the more popular names in Valorant coaching. Now, even Olzem used to work as an election inspector while studying in college. He was also part of the inaugural coaching staff for the Valorant scene in North America. But why did he decide to take up an offer and work for Team Secret and also work in a country that's literally miles away from home? So we exclusively talked to Coach Warbirds after their first match, wherein they lost against DRX, and we are gonna see his story, what type of motivations he had in this one-on-one exclusive from Seoul, South Korea. Watch this.
Coach Warbirds, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can.
Oh, hi, Coach. Good evening. So I'm Paolo. I'm from Fragster.com. I'm from the Philippines as well. So this is basically the interview is going to be aired on my podcast, which premieres on Monday. It's called Point Blank. So I talk a lot about esports and gaming about it. So I want to capitalize on the background and your experiences as a Valorant coach. So will that be okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I'm going to start. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me now from South Korea is Coach Warbirds from Team Secret. Coach, good evening and thank you for your time. How do you feel? I mean, I know it's been a rough night and the boys are probably going to take some breaks, but how do you feel about your first inning at stage one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't get the win, so obviously that doesn't feel the greatest, but we're always a team that whenever we lose, we always talk about like, okay, like just reset, focus on the next match. So.
I see. I kind of read a little bit about your background, and it says that you've been coaching Valorant since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So how did you end up being like a coach in different regions from North America, and then you ended up coaching Team Secret, which is based in the Philippines?
Yeah, so I was kind of in like the tier 1.5 scene in America, so essentially what happened was I was referred to Team Secret when they were looking at picking up an international coach, and you know we trialed and they liked me, so then they ended up going with
me. And how has the run with Team Secret been so far? I know you've been with a lot of players, you've met up with a lot of teams. How has the ride been with the Adobo Gang, Coach?
Yeah, it's been really fun. You know, I've only lived in one area my entire life in Michigan. So, you know, being able to live in Korea, be able to visit the Philippines, this is the first time I've ever been in Asia. It's been a really cool experience.
How has the the journey been for you? Like, I know you're miles away from home, the States and Asia has a lot of time differences. Like, how do you stay in touch, let's say, with your family, and are they very supportive of your decisions pursuing a professional coaching career?
So to address the like distance thing, my parents and I, we try to talk like maybe once a week. And we text nearly every day. So that's one way to get into contact with them. And what was the second part of your question again? Sorry.
I was asking about, like, how has the journey been? Like, I know it's been away from home. Like, what keeps you company?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the players keep me company a lot. We like to go out to eat a lot. We do a lot together, whether it be going out to eat or like going out shopping. We spend a lot of time bonding with each other. And obviously, especially in the pro career, it's, nothing is a straight line. So you have your ups and downs. So yeah.
Mhm. Like you mentioned the term ups and downs, coach.
Yeah.
What do you think has been your biggest up and your biggest down as Team Secret's lead tactician?
Yeah, I think the biggest up was probably, I don't know, there's a few like big moments, like the win versus Team Liquid in Brazil was really big. The win versus Paper X, I know the players really wanted that win. The win versus, who was it? DRX, to keep our playoff chances alive last year. So there were like a few like big ups last season. Or yeah, last season.
How about the downs?
I don't know about I mean, obviously whenever we don't qualify for a tournament, that's a pretty big down. And before Team Secret, before like franchising got official, I didn't have a job for like 6 or 7 months. So that was a pretty big down. I had to work small jobs on the side while still coaching teams. So yeah, I would say
Okay,
that's probably the biggest down.
I see. I understand the feeling when you're unemployed because there's no money involved. I mean, you check your bank account every day and there's like $0 in it. I want to talk about jobs because I ran through your LinkedIn profile. I'm sorry if I had to do a little bit of
Uh-oh.
investigative journalism in that. And I saw that you were an election inspector in the United States. Tell me about that job, man.
That was a while ago. That was I mean, I was pretty young. Was I in high school or very early in college? It might have been freshman year of college. Yeah, I mean, it was a long day and there wasn't a lot of people. That's what I don't know if I'm allowed to say more because it's about the election. It was like a local, like it wasn't a major one. So I remember it was a long day. We didn't get a lot of people. It was very small, so yeah.
So from that stage of your life, how did you actually eventually end up coaching Valorant? Like, how did you progress from being an election inspector, looking for work or studying, and actually becoming one of the most sought after pro coaches, especially here in Asia?
So originally, ever since I was little, I wanted to be in game design. I took separate classes in high school where it was just me doing online classes. I always wanted to work at Riot. Ironic enough, I was big into League of Legends and CS:GO. I was trying to be a player at the time, but I wasn't good enough. I had some like arm and wrist issues from sports. I've always played team sports in my life. So I remember one day my mom was like, well, if you can't play, why don't you just try coaching? And this was way before esports was like even a thing. This was my senior year of high school. And then I went to MLG Columbus, the CSGO tournament in Ohio. And that was
Mhm.
like a really big eye-opening experience. So I ended up coaching my college's League of Legends team. We got top 8 and we flew out to LA for their collegiate series, and that was really fun. And then after that, I was dipping my toes into both CSGO and League at the time. And I had an opportunity with Renegades, their CSGO team. It was right after they sold their roster to 100 Thieves. So that time frame. So I was still in school and they were essentially very, very much like hey, we know you're studying, you know, we're more than happy to give you feedback. The previous or the coach Mither, he's now on Apex or not.
Wow.
So I got to learn under him and they were very willing to, hey, I can't do scouting this month because I have 2 capstones that I'm taking. So
Wow.
they were very willing to adapt to my schedule, and I learned under them. And I remember it was 2 days before my midterm for my capstone was due, and I got an email with like the emergency notification, and it was like, hey, our Valorant coach is having a family emergency. He needs to fly back. Can you like step in and do our scouting? Because I was just a scout at the time. And they liked what I did. And then they brought me in as an analyst. And then the head coach left to a different team. They're like, well, this is at the time. This was the first year. This was before First Strike. Or this was like during First Strike. The coach left to a different team, and this was when there weren't a lot of coaches, so they wanted me to be the coach because I had coached League and I'd done analysis work for Valorant and CSGO, so they decided to go with me.
Mm-hmm. And looking at your journey, Warbirds, I mean, you've transcended academics, you've transcended the job, you know, the professional life. What is it about coaching that gives you so much fulfillment that you actually stuck to it? And it brought you a lot of opportunities, not just in the United States, not just in NA, but half the world away, which is Asia.
Yep. I think for me, I'm never one to really like the limelight. You know, I really like pushing people into the limelight and, you know, bringing out the full potential of them. I've said this previously. I don't really want to be the one to lift the trophy. I want to see them lift the trophy. So that's what gives me the motivation.
And I do hope that you lift that trophy. If the bias isn't obvious, I'm wearing a black and white jacket, right? So I think just some final words for people who want to enter the same field that you actually want to enter. Like, what do you want to tell them?
You're gonna have to work hard at it. There's no, as I said previously, there's no straight line to it. There's gonna be rough patches, and there's going to be really good uplifting patches, and you have to work really hard at it. And if you don't, there's always someone that is right behind you that's working hard. So you have to work really hard. You have to make sacrifices, especially in esports. You know, we already talked about, I live on the other side of the planet as like my family. So you have to make sacrifices. You have to be willing to adapt, and but you have to do that for everything you do in life. So yeah, you just chase your dreams.
Final word. What's your favorite Filipino word that the Team Secret boys taught you? And I hope it's not the one that actually made waves on the internet.
Envy says a phrase that I really like.
You like it as well?
Like, they say it a lot. It's the easiest one to go to. Favorite word. I just learned how to say cry, but it is escaping me now. There's yak. Yeah, there's that. And then I learned what is it? Mangdanga, which is like there's Mangdanga, which is beautiful, and then there's one which is good afternoon, which is very similar.
Magandang hapon. So
yeah, that.
I hope that the next time you make iyak Warbirds, the result is maganda because you win the championship. Good luck out there. Thank you so much, Coach Warbirds, and stay safe.
Thank you, you too.
So there you have it. We heard from Coach Warbirds, and I told him, I hope the next time you make iyak, it's maganda because you won the championship. For those of you who don't know, or I just said earlier, iyak, cry, maganda is beautiful. And it's been a beautiful insight, really, talking to one of the more prominent voices in our scene, because Warbirds literally has been doing a lot for Team Secret and for the Adobo Gang, despite the recent losses that they've been experiencing. And it's nice to know, to get into the mind of one of the more prominent tacticians in Asia Pacific Valorant. When we return, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be speaking to Agneya, Marzil, Koushik. Yep, it's the same Marzil from the Optic India gaming roster. He now plays CS2. He answers the question, where is Nikhil Forsaken Kumawat? The answer after the break. You're back here at Point Blank with Paolo Barcelon. If you're just joining us, we just finished an interview with Coach Ivan Warbirds Olzem of Team Secret, who we got into the mind of one of the more prominent tacticians in professional Valorant. But we move on to this exclusive report of mine about a recent incident in India involving what appears to be ID spoofing. Now, when you say spoofing, that means someone is pretending to be one specific account, and that is a player from Marcos Gaming named Bunts. But his opponent actually, or ironically, has had a similar experience when it comes to tournament integrity. Agneya, Marzil, Koushik used to be part of the now infamous Optic India roster, which included, you guessed it, Nikhil, Forsaken Kumawat, Word.exe user, and a cheater that recently got unbanned from his VAC account. Now, we move on to the topic of spoofing, of tournament integrity. But before I air that video, I just want to do a quick shout out to one of the greatest in worldwide Mobile Legends Bang Bang broadcasts, not just here in the Philippines, but around the world. Of course, we're talking about Mr. Dan Leo Kubangay. He anchors play-by-play on the Smart Facebook page and from Dark League Studios, a very good friend of mine, also a fellow wrestling fan. Shout out to you on the debut episode. And who knows, I might get you for one of the MLBB episodes, Coach Leo. So we'll talk about that after the broadcast. But before that, let us now move on to this Fragster exclusive between me and Agneya, Marzil, Koushik on what had happened, what really happened during that tournament.
Oh my.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am now speaking live and direct from India. We have Marzil on the line. Marzil, thank you so much for doing this interview. Baliktad. And Pilipinas ako, India siya.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm. I'll start off and let's get down to business, Marzil. First off, you and your team, Grayfox, if I'm not mistaken?
Grayfox, yes.
Grayfox, you were part of a Sky Esports tournament wherein you were able to see for yourself that someone was cheating, or spoofing, more accurate, during that tournament. Can you tell us the instances where you noticed that Bunts was allegedly spoofing at the time?
So initially on the day one of the tournament, we received some rumors from other teams as well that it's not the real Bunts playing. I couldn't verify the rumors, so I didn't think too much of it at that point. So we just played our game versus Marcos at that point. Now, we have played against Bunts in the past, in previous tournaments as well, Bunts and the same team, basically. And his level of gameplay was entirely different from what we saw on day one. Now, you could argue that, yeah, he's improved a lot in the time that we played him before and the time we played him now. But the previous tournament we played him was 10 days ago. So in 10 days, he made a complete transformation to become one of the best players that I have spectated and played against. One of the best. I'm not saying he was cheating, but his gameplay was almost flawless. As somebody who's also coached a lot of people and I've played in multiple teams, even the better players in our region, I can see and say, yeah, you should have peaked this, you should have peaked that. But when we observed him play, there was literally no mistakes that were being made that I could point out. That was the level that he was playing at. Now, in 10 days to make such a transformation, even if you play 24/7 for those 10 days, I don't think it would be possible to reach that level. That level of angle clearing that he had, that utility usage, the fact that his role switched up from what he was doing before to what he's doing now. Before he was just thrown in some corner of the map and he was just told to jump spot and just throw some basic utility in the previous games that we played. But on that day, he was taking charge, he was entry fragging, he was going off, and he was asking for drops from other players that before were better than him. And it was such a dramatic change to see. So what we did do after that game, and on the day when we had like 2 games, and I think every team had to play 2 games. So they played against us, and after beating us, they played against True Rippers as well. So we had like 4 maps that they had played as a minimum, and we compared that with all the previous instances of them playing the same maps. So we did raise our concerns to Sky Esports, and then we showed it to them, and look, he's spoofing. Now, if he actually was a much better player and he has improved in 10 days or 25 days or how many ever days you give him, if that were the case, the next few days, whenever we mentioned that or told Sky Esports that look, this is something fishy going on, and then they took the precautions of, okay, we're going to put a camera now, we're going to send an admin to wherever he's playing from and have
It's a
him observe
cafe.
how he's playing. Yeah, it was a cafe, but on day one it wasn't a cafe. So on day one he was playing from home, which is what was very, very, very fishy and very sketchy, right? And it did not make sense. Now we also asked for the audio recordings from Sky Sports because we wanted to know if there was somebody else playing on his account, his PC, and whatnot. And Sky Sports did not provide us the
Oh,
recordings, which, to be fair,
di
I can
ba?
get behind because you don't want to compromise the
Then,
integrity of people communicating what
oh,
their calls
it
are,
was
what their strats
it,
are, whatever. I can understand that.
di
I
ba?
totally understand that. But their only concern, or
Hindi
the
ako
only thing they
nag-cover
checked for,
nun.
was whether there was an
Nagsalita sa
alien
akin
voice
yun,
or not, whether
exclusive ko
somebody
yun.
else was speaking instead of him or not. They could use
Ay,
other
hindi ko
applications to have somebody else communicate
masyadong
with them. They
in
could
short,
do
panis
that.
na yung storya
They
eh.
could also not be communicating about the important things that are happening in the game that should be communicated if you were a better player, but because the competency of the tournament organizers was so low, them not being skilled enough in Counter-Strike or in the games that are involved that they're hosting tournaments for, they would not be able to distinguish what is good or what is bad. So there was a lack of professionals to determine whether or not he was really who he claims he was. Now, they did put some measures after we complained, after me and my team tweeted, and the other True Rippers also tweeted about what was going on, what was going wrong. Sky Sports did decide to send an admin across, like I mentioned, and they had a camera that faced him as well as the monitor that he was playing on to make sure that he was the one playing. Because on day one, the only check that they ran was during the True Rippers game. They apparently video called him in between the game, and he picked up and then just showed, "Hey, it's me," and look at the monitor, and he just showed that. Anybody can do that. While he's picking up the video call, anybody else who was playing might have just walked off the PC, right? Anything could have happened. So that was their only way of verifying. They did not have complete surveillance on day one. But the minute they had complete surveillance on day two and day three and whichever days he played subsequently, he reverted back to
Oh,
the bunch that we
bumalik daw
saw
siya sa
played 25
dati.
days ago, that he played 10 days ago. His
Sobrang
gameplay
funny
was
niyan eh,
night
no? Tayo
and
na
day.
sabihin,
And I also did a
sinabi
live
ng,
stream
mamaya
comparing
bago ako
while he was
mag-extra,
playing
sabihin ko yung
live.
statement ng
After
Sky
the game
Esports
finished, we
ah.
downloaded the demo as well, and I compared his gameplay to how he performed on day one. And you can tell, if you've played the game enough, or even if you play casually, you can tell they're two different people playing. Based on the roles that they were performing, based on how they were playing, there was no resemblance at all. There was nothing. There was nothing that could make me say that this person and this person is the same one, and maybe because he was under pressure, he was playing worse. No, the basic things such as how you move across a map with your WASD was flawed. How you pre-aim was flawed. How you use your utility was flawed. Sure, I don't care if he got like 0 frags or he got 30 frags, whatever his frag count was, that didn't matter. You could just tell based on that, based on how he moved and how he played and how he used his gun and how his mechanics were, that he was an entirely different player. And not to mention that he also
Dami na
performed the
nanonood,
worst, worse than everybody else on the server.
Solid.
But I'm
Okay,
not even counting that, you know?
right. Marzil, that was a
Um,
load of information. Like, I need to
Yeah.
process everything
Yeah.
step by step, which is
Yeah,
why now
totally.
I'm going to ask you just a few questions because some points have already been answered. Like, what did you
Mhm.
notice? The blah, blah, blah. I did the whole live stream thing.
Mhm.
You were part of a team back in 2014 that
Right.
was on the center of these. I don't want to dwell too much on that, like Optic India and all the history, but it opened up a lot of opportunities for you as well. But
Right.
now you are on the receiving end of
Yeah.
supposed spoofer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny how the world functions sometimes, isn't it? Like, how do
Yeah,
you?
some people just
How?
call it karma. And
I don't
no,
want to
but
karma
Karma
per se because you
karma
weren't the one
bayad
who
ka
was
na.
cheating. I mean,
yeah, but
fair and
people call
valid.
it karma. Like I can say that, yeah, I didn't know about it, but then I'm not accusing the other players either. You see, I'm not saying that everybody else knew on their team either. I'm not saying that they're involved. I'm not claiming their involvement in, yeah, they knew exactly that he was being IDs put or whatever. Because there could be workarounds where he was probably not communicating with them, that he was probably communicating with the other players or one or two other players. Our suspicion mainly is that he was communicating a lot with the other foreign players that he had, because the level of gameplay that was displayed by the ID spoofer was anything unlike what we've seen in India, in the Indian subcontinent. Even if I take the best Indian team, Right now, you could say it's God's Rain or True Rippers. Even if you compare any of their best players with how Bunts was playing, it was completely different. Bunts, like I said, even the best players, I could find out something that they could do better. Decision making would be better. This can be improved. But this player was flawless. It's like they brought a tier 2 player from some other region that we don't know of, and they brought him on board and made him play. Now, maybe the players did not know. Maybe there was somebody just playing and he was communicating with them on TeamSpeak, like the actual Bunts was communicating, and that's why there was nothing wrong or fishy in the audio recordings as well. But I don't know that for sure. I don't know what kind of investigation that Sky Sports did either. So I can't be sure. And in similar fashion, with the Forsaken incident, I did not know per se. Of course, we had our doubts and suspicions. And when we do have our doubts and suspicions, the first thing we do is we tell our organization. So I told the organization, Optic India, like, look, this looks a bit fishy. All the players had their worries before moving on board into the team. And they said that they did all their checks. They have monitoring on his PC. They've checked everything. They've checked everything out, and he looks fine. We have an anti-cheat that's running all the time for him, and it did not detect anything. So if the organization is convinced, if they've done their due diligence, or they say, I can do nothing but trust it. Instead, I can't be in a team and just keep doubting my own player, right? So
And
that was my
breaks a lot
argument.
of
That
your
point.
mental, Marzil. That breaks a lot of
Yeah.
mental. You've coached it. I want to go to your point of you can't just improve super drastically
Hmm.
in 10 days, okay?
Right.
So I want to ask you, as a CS2 pro, and you've coached people as well, how long does it
Nag-ano
usually
tayo,
take?
nag-coach to eh.
Let's say, for example, for someone
Abangan
who's
niyo
so
yung game
used to either
Forsaken.
CSGO or Valorant or
Hmm.
other FPSs to transition, and
Mhm.
as well as from when you're starting CS2 up until the level of pro play that you have done. How long usually is the transition, Marzil?
If you've played other FPS games, there is it like a specific time frame, because some people learn faster than the others, but I could give you like an average or a median on how often it takes, right? It will take several thousand hours at a minimum, and around 10,000 hours to get to the level that we saw that Bunce was playing at. And Bunce on his account has 4,000 hours in total, right? And even if, yeah, I think your mic muted a bit. Yeah, I think your mic's muted.
There and then, Marzil, the comparison that you said, and you've
Yeah,
been doing this for like a good part of like 5 or 6 years, right? Like you've been
right.
doing this since you were younger. The fact that you see a disparity between the 4,000 and the 10,000, and you say that
Right.
it normally takes 10,000 hours. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if he played 24/7 for 10 days consistent, that would be 240 hours that he could add max, right? So 4,000, subtract that from 240, that's around 3,800, let's say 3,750 approx, right? So even with those many hours, to just shift suddenly from 3,750 hours to 4,000 hours, even if you played 24/7 without sleep, without doing anything else for 10 days, you cannot see that level of improvement in just 24, in how many days? 10 days. Yeah, 10 days and 240 hours. That doesn't make sense in any realm. Even the best players in the world, even the current best players in the world, or even if you take HLTV's top 10 players,
Even if you
even
take
they
Cap-
would not have seen.
Correct.
Yeah, if you take anybody, you don't see that level of improvement. It's unrealistic, it's improbable, and that's why I'm so strong. Like, I am a strong believer that he is not a strong believer. I'm 100% sure that he was ID spoofing. That's why it was important that we bring it out and we mention it to Sky Sports. But then they call their team of so-called experts. We don't know who the experts are. They're refusing to reveal who the experts are, and they apparently conducted an investigation, as a sophisticated, intricate investigation, and then they said there's not enough proof, and that's just ridiculous to me.
What actually was striking to me, Marzil, was the lack of updates, because I'm looking at their Twitter right now. Shiva Nandi, the founder, or I don't know if he's the founder or the CEO
Yeah,
of
he's the head basically.
he's the head
He's in
basically.
charge. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the head basically. And there are no further updates up until the last update that he said on March 30. So I only
Right.
knew through you, Marzil, that
Mhm.
he was cleared. So what does this say about the lack of communication that is coming And the fact that you guys were informed and they didn't inform the public, right? So, what does it what does this mean to you? Because only you know, I'm a journalist working remotely
Hmm.
to make the story work, and I only knew this from you. So,
Yeah. So that's one more flaw that they have, where they actually have multiple Twitter handles. One for the Sky Sports Masters IP, one for Sky Sports International in general, and the CEO or head or whatever you said, Shiva's Twitter
his
handle itself.
personal X account, yeah.
Yeah, and they all have like different parts of the tweet segmented, so you gotta go searching through all of them to get your news and to get your facts down and the story down and everything, which is a headache because even me, I did not know until one of my teammates said, "Yeah, this Twitter handle posted this, and this is the update that they've come up with. That we don't have enough proof, and that's why he's clear to go."
Oh,
And everybody, the entire public, entire community that supports CS2 in India, was so against the decision, and it was so evident that he was ID spoofing. And it's like 99.9% of the people were against the decision, right? Not to say that the public is always right or anything, but if so many people are thinking about this, at least the least you can do is have a more thorough, more transparent investigation conducted, where what you did was explained better. Like, how did you investigate? What did you do? What
mhm.
was done? How did you
What was
check?
sorry to cut you off, Marzil. I just
Yeah,
want to
so
ask about the CS2 reaction. Like, of course, India's Counter-Strike community is one of the biggest in the world, and we all know that because of what had happened back
Mhm.
years back, that India doesn't have the best global reputation in the world. How
right.
do you feel about that? That you are again in the front lines of another incident that could potentially tarnish the reputation of the Indian Counter-Strike scene, and I feel sad for the
Yeah.
Indian community personally as a foreigner. It's
Mhm.
sad to hear such a story, man.
Yeah, it's probably worse to experience something, and I'm I would say this time at least I'm not in the direct crosshairs as I was in the past, because in the past I was right next to the teammate that did do the cheating and had everything happen, right?
Mm.
Now this at least is from some other player, but it still hurts our country's reputation because all the other players in our community who are actually trying and striving to be professional players and trying to improve and trying their best despite all the odds of our infrastructure, despite all the odds of not having the best access or the best pings to the servers where most tournaments are conducted, because in Asia most people like to play on Hong Kong servers and we ping really high from most cities in India to Hong Kong servers. Singapore is like kind of abandoned right now. Nobody really plays on Singapore servers for tournaments. It's like Hong Kong, it's Tokyo servers, it's Korean servers. These are usually the ones that people will play most Asian tournaments on. So we get hyping to that. So there's a lot of infrastructure challenges as is, and yet people are trying. And then when somebody comes through with something like this, where he just gets somebody else who's most likely not an Indian player, and he just has him sit on his account and play, and by unfair means decides to try and qualify, and when he's caught he still defends himself instead of coming clean and being honest. That's kind of sad. It hurts the reputation, it hurts the image of our region as a whole. But what I've learned so far is that people who do this really don't care about the image of their country, so you can't
I
say anything to them.
I totally agree. They disregard not just their own careers, but the careers of
Hmm.
many others, and you've been part of that. I mean,
Right.
you've been a witness to that. But
Hmm.
from the negative, we move towards towards calling to action. Marzil, what do
Hmm.
you think? Indian government, or at least the international community,
Hmm.
Valve, what do you
Hmm.
think they should do to prevent these incidents from ever happening again? Because if you say there's already scientific proof from you, you're a coach, you're a pro player, you know how these things work better than I do. Probably better
Hmm.
than I will ever do in my entire life, Marcel. And this isn't because
Hmm.
I'm dick riding anyone, okay? I'm just acknowledging that you are a better expert than I am because I'm a journalist. I play games
Hmm.
sometimes. I mean, I always play games, but Anyway, what do you think the international community and at least the developers should do, especially when it comes to tournament organizers?
Hmm.
Do you think it's time to have like a live cam system? What reforms should be done, Marzil?
I think if it's an online game that happens, a live cam system will be very, very helpful. It's going to eliminate at least issues like this of ID spoofing or some people that use radar hacks and all of that, right? A camera that watches both you playing as well as the monitor itself, right? That is one thing that can be done. Next, I think more tournaments or most of the tournaments, when it reaches the close qualifier stage, should be pushed to perform on LAN, right? Should be conducted on LAN. It doesn't have to be an extravagant, expensive LAN. It just has to have like 10 PCs and then 5 versus 5, and then with a, if
Servers.
you want to have a crowd, if you want to have an admin, whatever it is, we just have everything happen on LAN where there is no possibility of such shenanigans happening, right? That's the second thing. The third thing, which people have been crying about for like a decade right now, is Valve to have a better anti-cheat and a better system to catch people like this. And quite honestly, there is one more feature in the past that ESL Wire had, which is their client for hosting tournaments and their anti-cheat and stuff, where they would actually have a lock on configs. So a config is basically a file that has a person's settings and a person's like keybinds and his preferences and everything, right? So if we wanted to really prove that Bunce was actually ID spoofing in this example, there was no way that somebody else that came on and used his account would play in his settings all the time. They would at least make some changes, and that's where he would have gotten caught if we knew that the config was changed,
Ah,
right?
okay. All
That
right.
that would be one of the ways.
Mm.
That's some of
Maybe
my recommendations. At least.
that is very good, and that's what I actually want to hammer on because in all fairness and honesty, Marcos got eliminated. They won
Mm-hmm.
third place, which is still shocking to so many
Mm-hmm.
people that they won third place despite the allegations. The tournament went on as scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for you, as a coach, like or as a player, what do you want to tell, like the new generation? I mean, every one of us wants to grind. Every one of us wants
Mm-hmm.
to succeed in the game. But what do you want to tell these people? Like if you want to grind, do it responsibly.
Right. So, like you mentioned, the first thing I would say is work hard because it's not going to be easy. There's everybody else around the world that are playing who want to achieve the same goal or the same dreams that you have. So it's going to be if it's going to be a rough grind, but persistence is key. Number one, make sure you don't try to chase any shortcuts because shortcuts are shortcuts, but then you'll reach a dead end faster if you take a shortcut. And as much as these players aren't punished because of what has happened, I'm sure that, and I hope that tournament organizers in the future learn from this and take stricter measures to punish this. So don't try to chase shortcuts. It's just going to lead to your downfall in the future and
Like,
a lot of public hate.
a lot of complications and
Mhm.
ended careers, right?
Right.
Maybe this is I'm down to my last two or three questions, but I want to
Hmm.
check up on you and the your team. Like, how are you guys doing? How is the entire squad reeling from all of this? Of course, I know. I mean, you and your boys are probably tired. I mean, of course, it's exhausting to lose to a cheat,
Hmm.
and it's also exhausting to be in the place where a teammate cheated, right? Because again,
Right.
I draw a lot of parallels, and you're the perfect person to ask because you've been on both ends of the spectrum, Marzil. So how
Yeah,
how
I've
are
been
you and your
beaten up
team
in both
feeling?
directions.
How are you and the team feeling now?
uh, we look at it a little practically. We did lose the first game, but it wasn't the end of the road. So we did get to play again in the loser bracket. We did lose in the second time to a better team. We lost to True Rippers, which we are totally accepting of. So it isn't so much of a oh no we deserve to win but we lost sort of situation because we still had the chance to come out of the lower bracket. It is unfair to all the other teams that have played. It is unfair, and we want the team to be reprimanded or the player to be reprimanded at the very least. But that's all we can hope for. We're just disappointed that we weren't able to win because every team prepares to win, and we weren't able to show the best that we have at that point. And that's the only thing that was a little disappointing. But in the end, all we can do is just put our mistakes behind us, learn from them, and then we go forward in the hope that the next tournament we will do better and we will try and win. And we hope that these sort of issues don't plague us in the future. That's all.
Yeah, that's the hope. So now I move on to one of the most interesting questions that I got from my editor, who's a
Mm-hmm.
big CS fan. And I mean, how are you and the ex Optic India boys? Like, do you guys still talk? Do you guys like play with each other? How's the team been ever since everything that had happened? I mean, some of you went to Godlike, played Valorant.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
are in CS2, so you're basically back to where it all started. How are you and the boys, Marzil?
So Antidote, I know, is still playing Valorant right now. I think he's an MLT, so he's still pursuing a career in Valorant. Haivan was after the incident he decided to become a streamer, and I think he's still in the business of content creation itself. Formless, I'm not too sure. He was an admin for TEC, the Esports Club. He was an admin plus an observer, so that's where he headed. Um, YB, who was a coach at IGL at that point,
Yeah.
he right now he's I think he was an assistant coach for another VCT team, but I'm not sure where he is exactly right now. I think he's still trying to pursue a career in some sort of assistant coaching or game analysis in some team. So we don't really keep in touch very often, but we're still in good terms with each other. The last member, Forsaken, I'm
Yeah.
not sure where he is. I'm sure everybody wants to know where he is and what he's doing. But to me, it's like this: he committed a crime, and I do not want to know the whereabouts of a criminal and what he's doing. I just want to let it go and let it be. And he also has avoided all contact with anybody involved. So it is what it is. So
So he's still basically under the he's a fugitive of some sort because
yeah, he's under the grid. He's off the grid. Yeah.
what do you say recently his account just got unbanned. I mean pretty
Yeah.
recently he technically can come back to Call of Duty. I'm sorry, to Counter Strike, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like I mean definitely after that last interview he had with another outlet years back, he was out of
Hmm.
contact, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He wanted to go off the grid. I haven't seen his presence anywhere else. He hasn't tried to contact anyone or talk to anyone. So I think he's done with gaming. And even if he does decide to come back, I don't think anybody's going to have the even if you have even a shred of self-respect, nobody's going to play with him. So even if he wanted to, which I don't think he will, after the whole fiasco that has happened, he's just going to do something else probably. Yeah.
Mhm. If you were given a chance to like meet up or talk to him again, what would you tell him?
I probably won't want to talk to him. I want to stay as far away from him as possible.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand why. All the opportunities, but just to wrap this entire interview up, I don't want to take too
Mhm.
much of your time. I know you're very busy. You're probably gonna be going to scrim or taking a break or
Mhm.
whatever, doing whatever. What are
Mhm.
the biggest things that you've learned from both of these incidents? That you were on the receiving end and you had a teammate who cheated before. What are the biggest learnings that you, as Marzil, learned both as a player and as a person?
As a person, I think that people, usually you think that people have some self-respect that they won't do something like this after, especially after some person has got caught, at least out of fear and out of self-respect, you won't try and jeopardize other people, or you won't try to jeopardize your own country's image. But I think I was foolish to think that this sort of incident won't repeat because it's right in front of my eyes, and it's kind of sad, really. I just understand now better that people will do anything for success, even if it means dropping their self-respect completely. That's one thing I learned as a person. As a player, to be honest, they didn't cheat, right? They ID spoofed, which is illegal, which breaches tournament rules, which should be punished. But they didn't cheat, as per my knowledge, at least. They had a player who was a better player, who was not Indian, like I mentioned, because if he was, he would be in a professional team already, and he wouldn't have to ID spoof. So we lost to technically a better team that was playing a lot better. So as a player, I still feel like there's a lot more I could improve, and I want to be in a situation where, regardless of them doing ID spoofing or whatever, my objective is to win. So I have to beat them. So I have to beat them and be good enough that I can climb the ladder further. That's it.
And I just hope that the next time I talk to you, it's about
Hmm.
something that's a little happier on the side, like
Yeah, I hope so as
uh,
well.
Yeah. So, Marzil, I thank you very much for your time, and thank you for speaking up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having the interview with me.
Bunts aside. Now, in an interview with Dust2.in, which is a site in India that covers a lot of Counter Strike, he said that his good performance in the first day of the Indian qualifier of Sky Esports Masters was due to, and I quote, rectifying the mistakes he committed with his team. However, he denied any instance of spoofing and that the allegations that he was spoofing actually contributed to their team's negative performance moving forward. Now, he also said that that everything that the surveillance angle that they tried to present was actually detrimental to their overall performance. Now, that is a report to Dust2.in. We are still waiting on Marcos Gaming's final statement or final action regarding Marzil, as they tweeted last April 1st that they will make a decision regarding Bunts. So we still don't know as of the moment what Bunts' future will be in Marcos Gaming, and we will continue to monitor this story moving forward. Now, a lot of you have been watching, so I just want to thank everyone who have been a part of this journey. Of course, to our official co-production partner, which is CLX Production, manned by the one and only Mission Control, Mr. John Lloyd Colico, and the rest of CLX Production, of course, Stefan and Daniel, my bosses in Fragster. Thank you so much for the trust. And you can expect that when we air Point Blank, you have a lot to learn from in the hour or so that we are on the air, and we strive to continue delivering you better information, bigger news stories as the weeks go by. So I will definitely see you guys next week. And before I leave the air, I just want to promote some tournaments that are upcoming. Of course, there is the Project 160 Summer Valorant Open presented by CLX Production and powered by ePlayment. Registration dates are already open. They will be until April 18. And the tournament date will be from April 22 to May 15 with a prize pool of 10,000 pesos. So for any details on the registration, just head over to the CLX Production Facebook page. Now, there's also a Guild Wars 2 League of Legends Wild Rift tournament that is being conducted right now. Registration will last up until April 14, and the tournament dates will be every Friday and Saturday from April 19 to May 11 with a total prize pool of 15,000 pesos. Again, if you guys want to sign up for these tournaments, please go to the CLX Production Facebook page. And that is Point Blank this Monday, April 8, 2024. We brought you in-depth conversations with esports and gaming newsmakers, as well as news and headlines from here and around the world. And we also hope to bring to you soon the ups and downs of the esports and gaming industry. I'm Paolo Barcelon. From all of us here at Point Blank for Fragster and CLX Production, stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.